What's up, twisted people? Oh my gosh. Welcome to WandaVision, episode 666 perhaps. Full breakdown, Easter eggs. We are diving into it. I see Ra is already in the chat. Thank you, Ra, for joining us in the chat because Ra is ready to get into it. We are ready to get into it. I am your host, Chauncey K. Robinson, aka Twisted Woman CKR. Thank you all for joining us today. And I am joined by my brother from the same mother. Yes, my brother, Damon Robinson, D-Rock-a-Block.
How y'all doing?
Yeah, so we got a lot to talk about, y'all. We want to talk about WandaVision episode 6 because things went down. I feel like there were some revelations, but more questions than anything. And I want y'all to tell us in the chat, for those of you who are joining us live and those of you who are watching in the replay. I appreciate all of you who join and watch, whether it's watching live and watching after. Give us your comments and also let us in the chat know what were your overall thoughts about this episode, because I felt like I left with a few more questions than answers this time, because I felt like the previous episode I got revelations maybe, and I feel like in this episode I felt like, man, there are a lot of things I am now wondering about, a lot of open-ended stuff, a lot of what's going on here. Although I do have some theories, particularly when it comes to the mutants. So what we want to do today is do the overall, how we felt. We're going to get into the happenings, and then we're going to talk about some theories, because I love this kind of storytelling, slicing into this kind of storytelling. We get into what could this possibly be? And I think once again, this shows how great it is that this is a weekly show and we didn't get a dump of all the episodes, because it really makes you sit and marinate of where this is going. Because we got I think 2 to 3 more episodes of this season. And I'm still I have no idea where this is going. I'm still quite confused. I thought I would have been able to pick something up halfway through, but I feel like no, I'm still kind of confused. Damon, what were your overall thoughts of this episode? How are you feeling once the credits rolled?
I like this episode. This was a good episode. Actually being that this is kind of sort of like the middle part of the whole series. I'm very, very much enjoying this series. At first, I didn't think it. I thought being that it wasn't going to have a lot of action in it, that it wasn't going to be as good as it is, and I really enjoy it. I really enjoy it from everything, from the guessing what sitcom they're gonna pay homage to when it comes on to everything, to the new characters they bring, they show us and stuff. The whole storylines, the acting, everything is good. I am loving this series.
Yeah, exactly. I think what this also shows, and I saw someone mention this actually online, and I have to agree with them, of what can be done that when it comes to some of the longer sagas and the story arcs that we've had in comic books, that sometimes it may be better to do it in a TV format so you can really draw it out. Because I am going to throw shade. I'm going to throw shade on all the times that they've done the Dark Phoenix saga in the X-Men universe and how they always try to put it in one movie. And the only time I've seen this is X-Men Dark Phoenix. The only time I've seen it done well live and not in the comics was the cartoon series of the 90s, because they drew it out. They created some really high stakes episodes. And I think this WandaVision series shows what can be done and how you can really dive into a story arc that may not be as conveyed as well, and may shorten and be compacted in a movie aspect. And I feel like WandaVision is showing us what can really be done, because I know a lot of people were kind of like, oh, why is it just a TV show, why not a movie? But I think it shows the power of storytelling in episodic kind of ways. So I think I'm really impressed with this series. I'm really impressed with the attention to detail. And I say this as a DC girl more so than a Marvel.
I was saying, DC usually rule TV with the WB.
Yes.
I mean,
exactly. CW, WB, CW. What they usually DC is really good with TV episodic building up, and Marvel tends to be.
We coming for y'all.
Yeah, and Marvel tends to be the one that does it better with live action movies. We can admit that. I can admit that as a DC head. And I think in this case, they really brought their A game with it. And that was just so, I was like, wow, I am impressed. Ra is saying in the chat, thanks for joining us in the chat, Ra. You know, they should just make a Dark Phoenix miniseries, should they try to? Exactly. That is my thoughts as well. And I hope that WandaVision sets the precedent for that kind of understanding, that you don't have to cram these kind of comic book sagas into one movie, that you can really do it justice and get just as much of an impact from the TV shows.
I mean, I think some movies can explain it. It's just gonna take some time. You'll have to do that, like how they do their villains.
Yes,
how they
build it up
over 3 movies. You have to do that, you know.
Yeah.
But I also believe that, you know, that Dark Phoenix thing, they should take their time with it. The cartoon aspect of it was the best one I've seen also.
Yes. That cartoon was amazing.
Yes, it was.
The X-Men cartoons were amazing. And I can only hope now that Marvel and Disney own X-Men, and this is actually connected to WandaVision when we talk about the question of mutants and things, that they do the justice that, you know, that they've done with WandaVision, that they bring that same justice with how they portray the X-Men. Because I'm going to be honest, I haven't seen it done well enough in live action. I guess some people would say the Wolverine movies were pretty close.
Yeah, for the life of me, I never could understand why they would sell separately characters when really in Marvel all the characters have a link somehow.
Exactly. But we all know, with Marvel, I mean, the issue is a lot of fanboys love Wolverine, so they're always going to give him play, because they're already talking about, you know, recasting Wolverine now that he's over on Disney and what that's going to look like. Michael Damian is saying, WandaVision is my favorite Marvel property since the X-Men cartoon, definitely. And Red Eye saying, all that X-Men multiverse talk turned out to be nothing in this episode. Actually, Red Eyes, I don't know, Red Eyes, you and me haven't seen too close to eye with WandaVision, but I'm going to push back because I actually think there's still hope for the multiverse in some capacity, or at least the creation of mutants in this thing. I think actually,
definitely the creation.
The question of creation of mutants was definitely solidified. That was the one thing I did get answered in this episode. I feel like that mutants are being created from what's going on. I don't know about multiverse just yet, but then again, we don't know who the real big bad is just yet and what they have access to, because the question is why Pietro looks the way he does. I think that's not random. So I don't think it came out to nothing. So I'm going to push back a little bit, but you have a point. You have a point.
It was them going for a laugh to the fans of putting him as that part, but I believe he's a different character with a much bigger part to this thing than I gonna say it's bigger than Pietro would have.
I wouldn't be against Evan Peters being cast as Mephisto, because I think he'd do a darn good job. And if he was the next big villain in Phase 4, I think that would be a great role for Evan Peters to play for sure. But I also hold out because I know a lot of people loved him as Quicksilver. So I don't know. Rod saying recasting Wolverine isn't gonna go over well. I think it depends on who they get. I think there's so much. I think WandaVision is showing us that there's so much to dive into, or what is possible for Phase 4. I actually wasn't too excited for Phase 4 of Marvel, just because, you know, everything that happened with certain, you know, God Rest the Dead, Black Panther and things like that. And it was kind of like, I don't even know some of the characters they're bringing in. I ain't watched some of those. I ain't ever read some of those comics, but now I'm feeling a little bit more, and I didn't really care for, the one, was it Vandercooch or whatever his name, you know what I mean? Cumberbatch, the Doctor Strange,
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah, Cumberbatch. I didn't.
I'm like, you talking about Ratchet?
No, that's right. You know what I mean? I didn't particularly care for the movie or whatever, but considering what they may be playing with, I'm actually getting very excited for what Phase 4 might open up to it. Red Eyes saying in the chat, the Monica stuff with the head sword was interesting, and Vision going to the poor side of town was interesting. The Wanda Pietro stuff was just trick or treating. I don't know. I don't know if it's the poor side of town. I think it was just the side of town that her powers don't expand enough to.
Yeah, the further away, the further away they are, I believe the closer they are to that barrier, you know, the weaker her power gets.
The weaker the power gets, yeah.
But like it's a fact that she's not controlling everything.
Yeah. And
just like I said, she knew who he was supposed to be once he said, I can't get a stinking hug from my sister. But that pause, when we were speaking on it before, I said how she paused when she opened that door. Cause she looking at like, who the hell is this? And this episode just confirms me that she's really thinking something suspicious about this guy. Like,
why doesn't he look like the one she knows?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Stories that don't add up.
Yeah.
You know.
Michael Damian chatted saying Quicksilver did such an amazing job as the fun sitcom uncle brother of the 99 taking over the 2000s. I definitely love that. We got to get into it and let us know in the chat and also in the replay your thoughts on the dynamic of the 90s 2000s vibes of the show. I love how this show pays so much attention to aesthetics. They are so good at that with this show. They really draw you in on both ends of it. They really have been doing a great job of that. So let's jump into the episode itself, because things happened and major things happened and major kind of character reveals were kind of revealed a bit more when it came to certain characters in the episode. So we got the 90s opening of Malcolm in the Middle. I felt like it was Malcolm in the Middle. It was totally Malcolm in the Middle because they had the kids talking, and that's kind of what ended up happening in the 90s and 2000s. They made it so instead of the father figure or the wife being the main one, they focus in on the kids talking about their family. So we definitely had some Malcolm in the Middle vibes. I loved that opening, the whole like, what are you doing? Give me that and stuff like that. It was so cute. Right? Yeah, it just really worked and I loved it. And so that was a very cool opening. And then we had more of Pietro. We got Pietro playing this part of the uncle, the brother. And it got really meta towards the end of the episode because Pietro is very much aware what Wanda is doing. And that's an interesting thing as well. He's very much aware that Wanda is doing this and what is going on. So we got to talk about that because he's very aware of the role he's supposed to play as the foil and he's even in the opening credits, right? We're very much aware of the role he's supposed to play of the man-child guy who sleeps on the couch till 4 p.m. and whatnot. So I really love that. That was very cool. And then we had the original Wanda and Vision, Scarlet Witch and Vision Halloween, costumes. And it was the Halloween Spooktacular, which as a Twisted CKR, I will always love a Halloween episode. And so we got the original costuming, which was very cool. We actually got original costuming of Quicksilver too. Once Pietro changed into his clothing. So we got
minus the jean shorts.
Minus the jean shorts, yeah. So we got kind of the original kind of thing. And
everybody had on their everybody in that household had on their uniforms, because the first uniform we see is Billy dressed as Wiccan.
Really? I didn't even think of that. I didn't remember his costume. So that's a very good so we had Billy dressed as Wiccan, but the thing was Tommy hadn't actually changed anything yet. He made the joke, "Oh, I'm the cool twin," but eventually he changes into Pietro, and then eventually we find out he has powers similar to Quicksilver.
That's what he looked like. If you look at the Young Avengers, Speed looks like Quicksilver.
Yeah. So that's probably where they got that from. That's that makes a lot of sense. And Ra is saying, I was a bit confused on when this took place. Like, was it just a mashup of the late 90s and early 2000s? Malcolm in the Middle was 2000s, but then there were late 90s vibes too.
I think it was like maybe Wonder Years mixed with it. You think?
No, maybe? I don't think it was Wonder Years. I feel like it was Malcolm in the Middle. And I'm trying to think of another one.
And the Greenbergs or something, right?
Greenbergs? Goldbergs?
Goldberg. I don't know the name.
But that came out recently to make fun of the 90s and 80s.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I felt like it. I agree with you, Rod. It was definitely a mashup, but I think it was a mashup because of the fact that they probably can't. They only have like 2 to 3 episodes left, so they probably can't go through every decade. So I think you're right that they combined the 90s and the 2000s. I feel like the opening was very 90s grunge. And then the 2000s was very, the boys have the conversation with the camera that they break the fourth wall. So
Boy Meets World type something. I don't know.
Boy Meets World. Boy Meets World came out. Yeah, I guess it did come out late 90s. Kind of had, I don't know if it had Boy Meets World vibes. Yeah.
Maybe that'll be the next one.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe when they're teenagers or something. Vera in the chat, thanks for joining us in chat. Vera saying, I like they are establishing that the kids have autonomy compared to others. That too. And Pietro has autonomy no matter who he may really be. And then Vision has some autonomy as well. So we're seeing aspects of that.
I think he has a lot of autonomy. Like certain things he says, like when he came down and she was like, thank you for bearing with me and wearing the costume. And he like, well, it was the only thing in my closet.
I didn't have anything else.
I had no choice.
Like he's very, and that's the thing we have to talk about, because even looking at Vision's face, we're coming to a point where Vision is very aware that, and he's not trying to play by Wanda's rules necessarily, because she comes down and they have a conversation, and Wanda kind of has this idea that they're all going to go out for trick-or-treating and her and Vision are going to do it. But then Vision says, and we find out he lied, but he's like, I have to go patrolling. The funny thing is, Wanda even says, she's like, but you're not supposed to, because she gets caught, because her thought, because she had controlled it, that they were doing this plot of doing this other thing. And so Vision's like, and it's like, no, I'm going to do this. He's like, I have to do something else.
He has full autonomy.
Yeah.
He's going off script. No.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm doing what I want to do. Yeah, the costumes was great.
Yeah, Michael Damian saying, I felt like that was a span of 98 to 2002. Very specific. Yes. Red Eyes is saying, it's weird Pietro shows up random at the door last episode. Then in this one, he's sleeping on the couch with no conversation as to why he's here. I think that just goes to the idea that they've jumped and they're in a new season and that he plays this. I mean, yeah, but you get what I'm saying? They don't have time to be like, let's on the last so-and-so, because in the last one, they were in the 70s. Or the 80s.
I get that.
And I think it's also good to point out that in the very beginning of this episode, when they did the recap, they actually did show the original Quicksilver. And I think there's a good thing to point that out, because I think they wanted us to know that this isn't the guy who played the original Quicksilver. And this isn't some kind of forget it. It's just a recast and no one should think anything.
Them showing that also later on lends to something that this Evan Peters Pietro says in this, that one scene that they showed at the beginning, and I don't want to go ahead till we get to that point in the episode, but he says something that made me look at that and think back to that thing, like, why would he say that? Why would he think that way?
Okay, well, when we get to it, let's talk. Yeah. So we have this thing where Vision basically is going against Wanda, where he's like, I got something else I'm going to do. And she's like, okay, because she doesn't want to push too much. And even the kids notice when Billy looks at the camera, he's like, but they're not like on the same page, So there's kind of this meta understanding within the show and outside of the show that they're not seeing eye to eye. So we have Vision, which not seeing eye to eye. And then we go to what's going on at the Sword base. And Hayward is in full, I don't even want to call it villain mode. I want to call it foil. He's in foil mode. And I got a lot of vibes of the governor or the president from X-Men who doesn't like super powered people, because there's there was very prejudiced type things that were going. He's like, it's very clear. He was like, he tells Monica, you have some kind of, bias when it comes to these super powered individuals. And I'm like, whoa, this is some borderline, I don't like any super powered individuals anymore type thing, which is, we've had issues in the Marvel Cinematic Universe where government officials have had issues, but at other times they get along for the most part. They kind of work hand in hand. So it's very interesting, when Hayward is talking to Monica and saying, it's probably a good thing that you weren't here for the last 5 years, so you don't know, and things like that. And then he said something very hurtful. It was like, good thing your mom died before you came back because you weren't be able to handle this.
Yeah, you ain't got the stomach for this.
Yeah, you don't have the stomach for this. But then it makes me wonder, like, what was Marie doing in the last couple of years that Hayward would think that she'd be okay with the way he was functioning versus the way Monica was functioning, especially since Marie is BFFs with Captain Marvel, or at least she was.
That also tells me that Captain Marvel must not have been on Earth them 5 years, because being that they are so close, they would have been, I'm quite sure she would have been working with her. Mm-hmm. So then, and him being under her, under Maria, he wouldn't feel that way about supers and say to her, we know your history with Carol Danvers.
Yeah, but then we did, and this kind of goes back to what we heard in I think it was the episode for last, where Monica doesn't want to even talk about Captain Marvel. So there's definitely some tension there. And Hayward doesn't seem to be okay with any of the superpowered people. He just calls them superpowered people, a whole different class of individuals.
Yeah,
and
that sounds very like they're very much like
X-Men.
X-Men, yeah.
Yeah, where it's like we don't like, I wouldn't be surprised if we do get X-Men in this universe or what universe. I wouldn't be surprised. Well, saying that, Michael?
Reverse.
Yes. But you know what I'm saying? Like, if he ends up being like, how the first X-Men movie was, where he becomes governor or the president, he runs on this idea of getting rid of the mutants and things like that, where you have a whole arc. Because the Hayward guy seems like a very good actor. So, and they don't bring nobody into the MCU or the Marvel universe, period, at this point, if they're not going to be around. We see that with Jimmy Woo being around and stuff like that. People connect. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe this is also his origin, where he might be having a future of running a campaign against superpowered individuals. I could see that happening. And so you have this thing where, also he said something between Darcy and Monica that I didn't really like. He's like, well, which one of you is the sassy best friend? And I was like, what racism?
Really, the funny thing is, I thought he was directing that at Jimmy Woo. I don't know. That's what I thought.
I don't know. I was like, wait a minute. I was like, somebody check this dude, because we all know they like to put the black woman as the sassy best friend. You can calm down. I was like, I wrote down, do not like this Hayward, man, because I was not feeling him. And so basically, Monica pushes back, and he was just like, you've been undermining me since you got here. You need to go. And he was very quick to push them out, right? And even Monica notes it with him and with her, Woo, and Darcy leaving out. She was like, he wanted an excuse to get rid of us because he's got something he's doing. And then we get an awesome fight scene, which I thought was really cool. Monica and Woo kind of doing the thing real quick, and Darcy be like, why didn't anyone tell me the plan that we were going to do that? I love their dynamic. I kind of hope we get more of the three of them doing stuff together, because it really worked. I don't know what storyline they could do past this, but I really enjoyed that. And so we get this thing where they're going back in and they're trying to find out what's going on.
Hacking to the sword.
The hacking to the sword, And I think, and Ra is asking, do you think maybe Maria and Hayward were a couple? Is that the reason why he said what he said to Monica? I don't know. I kind of don't. I mean, I know the theories online was that Marie and Captain Marvel had some unrequited type relationship. So I don't know. I mean,
well, I thought it was a husband around somewhere, and that's how she had Monica. I don't know.
I think it was there wasn't a husband around, was there?
It wasn't a husband?
She was a single mother. Wasn't she a single mother when Captain Marvel came back? So she had a child, but I always felt like, I don't know, that movie gave me vibes where there was some underlying love there that wasn't completely friendship. I don't know. So but maybe Hayward could have been in love with her. I mean, who knows? There's a lot of backstory there. Once we hopefully get more into Monica's backstory in the upcoming Captain Marvel movie, or maybe her own thing. They might give Monica her own thing. This may be the starting point of her getting her own show after her Captain Marvel appearance. So I wanted.
They do what they want to do.
Exactly. Vera is saying, I wonder as they start introducing more powered people mutants, will there be an outrage and opposition to them? I think that's what Hayward represents, actually, Vera. I think we're seeing the with everything that happened with the snap, people probably have a lot of anger towards Thanos and what he was trying to do and things like that. And maybe there may be a basis of, we don't want to deal with your super powered issues anymore, and it puts all of us in danger. I could see the basis of it turning into that.
That was the whole, I think the whole thing of them, the whole agenda of them changing what Sword really meant. It was a good idea to bring them in for the beginning of the Avengers movies, where you had all the threats coming from outer space. You just automatically thought, okay, this is where Sword gonna come in at. Now that's all changed, because now it's like they're not looking at outer space anymore. They're looking at all the super powered people that's on Earth.
Exactly, as weapons or dangers. So I think that there's a point there. And Michael Damian saying, he reminds me of Senator Kelly. That's the name I was looking for. Senator Kelly from the X-Men movies, who tries to ban mutants but gets turned into a botched boneless mutant. Exactly. And he turns into water and he dies, because that is what happens in the movies. But I could see Hayward being another version of this guy. That's what I'm saying. I think this might be the origin of him perhaps being it's a big loyal towards super powered people.
It's been many of people like that. General Ross is like that. It's a lot of guys of power in that whole position of power in Marvel that always felt that way. In Spider-Man, wasn't John Jameson? Editor, he felt that way,
but that was kind of, but that was on
it's a lot of it's always been
General Ross for sure. From the Hulk. So okay, so we get that they go back in, and so now we go back to inside the TV show, and Pietro and Wanda are having their antics. We have a moment where Pietro has a memory of the time they caught something with the fish, and Wanda's like, that's not exactly how I remember it. So they're having different memories. Pietro has his own memories, and I think this is what stands out to me. If Mephisto, right, had if Pietro was if Pietro was Mephisto, then would he have any memories necessarily, or would he be trying to avoid that? And I do feel like maybe this version of Quicksilver has his own sets of memories that maybe means he's from a different time of some sort or a different place, because here he has this memory and he has a flashback to it, and Wanda's like, oh, I don't remember it like that, but maybe it did happen for him.
Maybe he's just generalizing.
Okay.
Kids, Halloween. When we went out for that was better than the costumes our mom made for her, and the costumes just happened to be Nick Fury and the girl with the antennas from the Guardians of the Galaxy.
That was cute.
It just happened to be that. I believe that's why she's suspicious. Like you said, I don't remember that.
Yeah. So, okay, so we get that. And then we also get later when they're out, because Vision can't do it. And it's interesting that Pietro's like, oh, the kids need a father figure. That may play a little bit into the Mephisto thing, because if you go by one of the things that the twins are actually part of him, and he seems to take a very liking to them. And he's saying, things like give them hell and fury and things like that.
He said unleash hell. He said unleash hell spawns of the devil, or unleash hell, devil spawns.
Yes, unleash hell, devil spawns, which very much plays into the idea that of the story arc in the comics, where Wanda's twins were actually siphoned off from Mephisto's soul, and that's where they actually came from. And so there's a little bit of that. There's some hints of that. And so we get this thing where Pietro also acknowledges that he does not look the way that we know he should be looking from Age of Ultron, right? So, and it was a very interesting scene, because I thought he was going to be like, oh, let's talk about something. He actually is very forthright with Wanda, because Wanda's like, do you remember that time? And what was her name? And he's like, you're trying to test me. And he's like, yeah. And she was like, oh, I'm not. And I didn't think he was going to do that. So it kind of went a different way, because then he's like, look, I know I don't look the same way I'm supposed to. And she's like, that like, why don't you look the way you look?
You got to put it on her, right?
Well, I don't know if he tried to put it on her. He basically says, I don't know. He was like, I just remember at one point I was getting shot up by these guys. And then the next thing I hear you calling me, saying actually, as though you need me, and I show up at your door. He's like, actually,
that's what I was referring to, that moment right there, as what he says, I end up getting shot like some, I get shot down the street like some chump. And I don't know why. When we just seen the clip at the beginning, he got shot saving Wanda.
Mm-hmm.
Who talks about themselves in that way?
I don't know. I mean, maybe it was just the way they have his character kind of being brazen. Like, oh, one moment I get shot up and I don't know why, and the next moment I'm here. You know. Because you called to me. Red Eyes is saying in the chat, oh, Red Eyes actually agrees with me on this one. I agree with Chauncey. There were too many memories that didn't match. Pedro had his own experience on his Earth. And I do think that leans towards that. Although I feel like, I think
he's a that's the multiverse.
That he's maybe a multiverse. Because why does he have his own memories?
You know, Pedro in that multiverse in the X-Men doesn't have a sister. So what memory?
He doesn't have a what?
He doesn't have a sister.
He does have a sister. You just don't. He has a sister, but it's never named. She's never named, and it doesn't look like she has powers.
His mother doesn't have a daughter. She must be Bob.
They show her. There's a thing. I looked it up. He has a sister. They just don't go into detail of her name or anything. But he has a sister.
Wow.
Yeah. So he does have a sister. They just don't go into her name or her having powers. It seemed like he was the only one that had powers.
He's not. We're not Slovakian, whatever that is.
Well, yeah, but you know, they have a whole
American.
Well, this is the thing. They have a whole back and forth, and this is what I mean. They have a whole back and forth because she's like, "What happened to your accent?" And he says, "What happened to yours?" Yeah, so there's this thing of. I mean, yes, I know you're leaning towards the fact that perhaps this guy is the evil Mephisto. I'm leaning towards the idea that maybe Mephisto is manipulating him, but maybe he really is his own Quicksilver from a different time. I just think it's a little weird that he's kind of like, I don't know. He was like, I just showed up because you were calling, and here I am.
That Mephisto in that other time zone didn't get shot. This is what I'm saying. Like it's.
But we don't know what happened to what because I didn't watch those ones. What he didn't die.
He didn't get shot. I tell you that. You ain't had to watch. It'd have been people to say, "Oh yeah, he got killed through the same way." He didn't get shot.
But you get what I'm saying. That's what I mean. Mephisto perhaps manipulating him with his own thoughts and things, feeding him into what he should be feeling and thinking. I think. Okay, y'all, chat and replay. Damon and I are at odds with this one because Damon seems to be very convinced that this Quicksilver is not any Quicksilver and that he is definitely Mephisto. That he is definitely Mephisto. I, on the other hand, think that Mephisto or whatever villain it may be is somehow manipulating this Quicksilver and drew him in to this area. So let us know what y'all think in the chat. And Red Eyes is letting us know that in the X-Men movies, Quicksilver's sister died young in the movies, but he definitely had a sister, you know? So we have the thing, they have the back and forth. And, you know, Pietro is very meta with it. He's very aware that this is all a thing. You know, he's like, you know, I came in, I'm playing my part of the brother that gives
the husband.
I'm playing the man child. I'm doing my role for this sitcom. He's like, I came in, I'm acting the way I'm supposed to act. You know, I'm doing what you want me to do. And we see moments like that throughout this episode, right? Where Herb, who's dressed as Frankenstein, you know, he's like, wait a minute, do you need me to change something for you, Wanda? So Herb is very much thinking that Wanda is in control. Everyone seems to be kind of like, you know, tiptoeing around Wanda, like, oh, Wanda. And she's like, no, it's okay. I don't need anything. Yeah, and
great makeup too. If I didn't know that Irv was the only big black guy on the show, I wouldn't know that was him.
That was him. He did look different. And Michael is actually agreeing with me. He's saying, I think this Pedro traveled from the other multiverse against his will. Okay. So, all right. And then we have, you know, Pietro straight up asked, he asked Wanda, he's like, you can talk to me. I'm not your husband. I'm not, you can talk to me. We're on the same page. And he's like, how did you do this? Like, how did you, like, because even he's wondering, like, where is this coming from? Like, how are you able to do it? Because he actually acknowledges the children, too, because we know we had not seen any kids up to this point. And he's like, question, where did all these kids come from? And he even explains, he's like, okay, were they all sleeping in their beds, like in a eternal sleep while this was going on?
In the earlier episode, Vision said, I look at that playground every day and there's never any kids.
Yes. He's like, there's no kids there. Where are the children? And it's funny because Pietro even goes, he's like, oh, you bring them out for a special episode occasionally, and then they go back to sleep. Because it's like, okay, bring them out for the Halloween episode, bring them out for the Christmas episode. But then other than that, they don't need the trauma of what you do to these people's brains. So he's very brazen about what, and she doesn't even want to mention that first. She was like, you don't think it's bad? And he's like, hey, he was like, he's like, I'm not going to judge you for this. And then Wanda admits, Wanda admits that she doesn't actually really know how she did it. And she's saying that I just felt this empty pit of loneliness. I'm just looking at my notes. Like, she's just like, I just felt this, like, bottomless pit of loneliness. So we know this came from a lot of her grief, but she still is not completely aware how she was able to do something that, like we talked about in earlier episodes, how she did this anytime before, right? 401 Felix joined us in the chat. Thanks for joining us in the live chat. 401 is saying, just join the stream. Just want to say Hayward is raggedy. Yes, that sassy best friend line did not sit well with me, but yes, Hayward is raggedy.
You gotta expect Hayward to be that way.
Yeah, they needed a foil.
Every suit is the same way in there. No,
sometimes, sometimes they're on the side.
Sometimes.
Larisha is saying in the chat, I think the children reveal was the best and necessary. Exactly. I think there's definitely something with the twins, but also the fact that all of a sudden, we're seeing these kids show up. And it's like, where were all these children before? It was the most populated it had ever been. This episode. Yeah. So all the other episodes, the streets were always completely empty, right? Mm-hmm. And so, Pietro's asking her and she admits. And so now what we're getting here is that, one, what we're told, Wanda really doesn't know how she's doing this. Although at the end of the episode, we kind of see how she's doing it. So we know she knows how to do it. I think that it's still, I think it's maybe not as clear how she started it. I think she's not clear how it started, but she does it, but she knows how to do it because we see, we'll get to that where she expands the barrier. So she knows what she's doing, I guess, when pushed against the grain, but she didn't know how it all started in a way.
She don't know how it got away from her.
Yeah, how it got away from her in a way.
Because like I said, it probably started off as a subconscious thing.
Yeah.
When the episode when she made the credits roll on him, and he was like, I don't know what's going on. What's the Maximoff phenomenon?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it probably started as something subconscious, but somewhere along the way it got away from you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that's what happened. I think they giving us hints. A lot of hints.
But someone's got to be conscious and wondering what's going on, right? I think that's the question too. And Larisha in the chat is saying, I believe it's subconscious, but we have definitely seen her level up each iteration. We see her and how her emotions play into these new power levels. Exactly. I definitely agree with you there. I think that we're seeing that, even Pietro is like, how'd you do this? Like you didn't, have this kind of thing before, and so there's that. And
then she finally called her powers magic. This episode.
Yeah, and then we see
magic, but
yeah, and then we see that the twins have similar powers. Tommy has powers like Quicksilver, and then towards the end we see that Billy has powers, kind of like his mother in a way that he could see.
He's a telepath. Telepath. That's all he showed, and the fact that he could levitate and stuff.
Yeah,
he didn't get into his other Wiccan like powers yet. We didn't see that.
Yeah, So we see that, and that's how she's able to see. And then Wanda also says something when the kids discover their powers. More so, Tommy sees the power of things. She tells him, "Don't go past Ellis Ave."
Yeah.
And so that's mentioned, and then we see why later on, because we see that Ellis Ave is the end of the
every town in Jersey has 2 streets in it. And an Elm Street.
Right? That is very much a Jersey thing. And Ellis Ave is in this one for sure. And so we see that. And then we go back to Vision, who is going around and he's trying to figure out what is happening. You know, he's looking around, and we get to the part where he goes further and further towards the end of the town, and everyone's moving very slow. They're in the trance, but they're very slow. What did you think that was about?
Well, he walks past one before he gets to the edge of town. He walked past one. They weren't exactly not moving like those at the edge of town was. They was like stuck in a loop. The lady who was hanging up the decorations, her husband, but he looked at her and could really tell that she was going through something emotional because she was crying. You know, so whatever's going on inside their heads and stuff. You know, they're in pain. Maybe they're feeling Wanda's pain, or maybe Mephisto is feeding off of the pain of them and Wanda.
You might be right on that, because we saw with, I think it was Norman or someone, the co-worker when Vision first did the thing, and he's like, you know, my father is passing, you know, my father is sick, and I just feel this endless dread. I don't know what to do about this dread. So he's feeling something. So everyone seems to be sharing in to this sense of dread and whatnot. If we're going by people crying and people seeming sad and stuff like that. And so, you know, Vision goes up high and he looks at it and he sees that there's, you know, a point. So he goes over there, and this is where Agnes.
He see what's the name? Brake lights. He see brake lights of someone trying to leave out of town.
Exactly, and that's where we get your girl Agnes there.
Yeah.
And so this is where, now for those of you who have been watching this stream, thank you. In our previous one, Damon has a really good theory, I think, about who Agnes is, which was Agatha, which in the comics was originally.
I was going off the brooch that she wore in episode.
Yeah, that she had some type of powers, and
the same.
Yeah.
You know, brooch.
And so Damon had a theory that she was also there on purpose. And it is, and I don't know if maybe they're playing with us, but she was dressed up as a witch this episode too. So she was dressed up as a witch, the Wicked Witch of the West, of Dorothy and Oz type thing. And the interesting thing, though, that happens there is that she's just sitting there and she said, "Where's the town square?" And even Vision says, "How are you lost in the place you grew up in?" And I thought that stood out, because that makes me think that maybe she's not from there. So that still kind of goes with your theory, Damon, because they still haven't placed who her counterpart is in the real Jersey, right? Yeah. We never saw that. But then, you know, she's very stoic. She's like, "I must have made a wrong turn," and she's just there. But then Vision does the thing on the temples, and she starts talking. And she's like, you're Vision from, you know, the Avengers." And then she's like, "Am I dead?" And he's like, "Why would you be dead?" He's like, "Because you're dead. And she does this whole thing. And to me, that doesn't sound like someone who knows what's going on.
It didn't. But I'm also wondering, okay, how come everybody else that's close to the edge of town, not only can they not talk, they can't move, but she could do both.
So you think because, and Vision can too. So do you think it has something to do with their proximity to Wanda, that they're still able to move, but everyone else who actually lives on that part of town doesn't?
Yeah, I believe she's in on it. I think I mean, you know, everybody do their little, it's a masquerade. We're going to show you this, so you're focused on this while we're doing this over here. I believe that's what she's there for. She's there to maybe the villain knows that it's getting harder to keep the blindfold over Vision eyes. So what do? You let him see what's going on, and you make him an antagonist against Wanda.
Mm-hmm. So are you still going with your theory that Agnes is still Agatha? You haven't let that go?
Yes.
Okay. So let us know in the chat, y'all.
I ain't let it go yet.
You didn't let it go yet. Damon still
been
thinks
shaking a little bit.
Damon's yes. Damon still, and maybe they're trying to throw you off. Maybe they figured a lot of people, or a good amount of people would come up with a great theory like you did and be like, we got to throw them off. We got to make it so we throw them off Agatha's scent, and we make it so she seems like she's not part of it either, and she also got caught up in things.
They're giving us hints. Like for what other reason is it to show that clip from the Age of Ultron with the Anthony Johnson? This is Anthony Johnson, Aaron, him get shot, and then have him make that speech about me being a chump, getting shot dead in the street like a chump, and I don't even know why. When they just showed at the beginning of the clip, you speeded in front of a bullet so your sister wouldn't get killed. That's a memorable moment to me.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And you think that's the same with Agnes?
I think they giving us hints, not just that with Agnes. I think they've been giving us hints with Agnes towards the beginning, how she was in on everything, like how she said it, like she's all like, I got a feeling somebody about to pop up, and she pops in with exactly what we need at the time.
Mm-hmm. That's true. She seems that, like, for some reason, Wanda has made her that character, or she's that character already. Help Wanda.
She got an intro in this.
Yeah, she's a co-star. She's a co-star.
Ern ain't a co-star. I mean, Herb.
Yeah, no one else is a co-star. For some reason, Agnes has become a co-star. Larisha is saying Wiccan and Speed are my favorite of Young Avengers, and I'm excited to see if they introduce Mephisto, since their souls are supposed to be stolen fragments from him that Wanda inadvertently obtained. Red Eyes is saying every episode Agnes was involved with the children. Now the town is flooded with kids, and Agnes tried to leave.
Leave town.
I don't know what that, why would she try to leave?
And
or
she's
maybe
leaving town when Vision is out there searching, surveying. I mean, whoever's controlling things, once Wanda finds out stuff, I believe he finds out stuff too. Or whoever that is. So once she found out that, Vision's he's not supposed to be on duty patrolling.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, Agnes is at the edge of town, just sitting there waiting for who? Vision. Because that's what it seemed like she was waiting for, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's weird.
Me too. I've been saying that since the second episode.
Yeah, Ra is saying, I think Agnes is Agatha Harkness. So Ra definitely agrees with you on that. And Red Eyes is saying, Damon could be right. Just because Agnes was under mind control doesn't mean it's Wanda's mind control. Or maybe she tried to leave to report back to Hayward. There's also that. Although I don't think Agnes is... What's that, Damon?
Maybe Ralph sent her there.
Maybe Ralph sent her there. That's, there's a lot of things. I mean, also I had said, I was like, well, Monica got caught up in that too, and she wasn't supposed to be there, and Wanda was able to throw her into it, and she wasn't supposed to. So maybe the same thing happened to Agnes. Like maybe she took a wrong turn and was supposed to do something else, and then she got caught up.
This is what I'm thinking. Monica did get sucked in. I don't think Wanda sucked her in. That's why she was adamant, asking her, "Why are you here?" If she brought her in, she would have known she brought her in. I believe it's somebody else controlling people. Just like she said, told Vision, do you think I can control all these people? Really? Like if she is controlling them, she don't know she is.
That's true. Because she doesn't seem to be aware, although she does have some type of idea, because we got to mention that she did see Pietro as a zombie. Now that would kind of throw you off, because why, if he's supposed to be Mephisto, why show him as he got shot up and dead?
I think he's doing that.
So you think he did that to Vision too?
Possibly to make her want to fight to keep everything the way it's going. Show her what she's doing this for. So you show a version of Vision with the thing missing from his head. And then what was it like the next comments or so after that, when he was like, maybe we could leave and go, no, this is where we belong.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Certain things, that's I think that's whoever's the villain behind the scenes. That's how he tweaks his control of her. Another thing that made me think it's somebody else behind the scenes. That commercial.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get to that commercial because I got theories about that commercial too. Okay, so we see also a very big thing that happened this. I'm just looking at my notes, y'all. A very big thing that happened this episode was that Monica's cells are changing.
Yeah.
So, Darcy says you can't go back in there. I just looked in the thing. They got your records. It looks like your cells are changing. Who knows what the next thing may be? So we may be getting a Monica Power origin story. And I think someone mentioned that. I don't know if it was Raw in the chat or some others who had mentioned that Monica's, because we did know that they couldn't see anything on the test. And it was like, what's going on here? So I do think something, but I also think this is where my theory of the mutants comes in. Because I don't think everyone that gets drawn into the force field or goes through the force field is going to be made a mutant. That's not where I'm going with this. I think that if you have some gene in you, like X-Men, X chromosome or whatever, if you have some gene in you that gets interference from this thing, this force field that that Wanda is doing, which we know was there since the Big Bang Theory.
It's part of
it wakes up your powers. I think that's how we may get, and because she's expanding it, this may be a way to wake up other people's powers. Thus, we get mutants. That's my theory.
Hold on.
Because she's expanding it.
1 minute.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the exact thing you said, I gave you my reasons for it and everything.
What? Well, no, you said it. No, you didn't.
I said about the Wakanda. I talked about the Wakanda files and how Shuri said that the reason the Hydra did the experiments in Sequoia was because the people over there had a latent gene in them that made them perfect for the experimentations.
Well, I know we talked about the fact of Wanda being able to have the powers from the stone because it just woke up her powers she already had.
No. And in that same conversation, I said, maybe we will see Wanda end up being the mother of mutants because if it's other people with that latent gene in them, and being that she has the cosmic radiation, all that she's putting out through that barrier and everything comes from the same cosmic radiation that comes from the stone that opened her powers and Pietro powers. So it had the same effect on anybody else with that latent gene in them.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember.
Okay, so you said that. Sure. Okay. I'm not stealing your theories. I agree with you. I guess I agree with Damon, y'all. It feels like childhood. Him claiming it was his versus me claiming it was mine. Oh my gosh, childhood flashbacks.
I had it first.
No, it's me. Okay. But I think the reason why originally I pushed back on you on that because I said, if this does it, then what of Xavier and Magneto in all of them? Because that's a history that goes back from the 60s and things. Yeah, and even with this theory that I am now agreeing with you on, I still question how they're going to bring those characters in.
It's not just Xavier. Remember, what's the name is older than Xavier and Magneto? Wolverine.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So it's not just them. They would have for him to
but I'm saying
they would damn sure have to account for him. Because
they gotta account for Wolverine too.
He's damn near the oldest fucking mutant. Excuse me. He's damn near he's the oldest mutant around.
That's true. So they do. So I'm not against your theory. I actually think it makes sense. I think that's what they are doing. I just wonder how they're going to then bring in the mutants who have supposedly been mutants even before on the timeline that Wanda has done this. So that's my issue with that. Although I do agree with what you're saying. Red Eyes in the chat is saying Darcy said her cells changed twice, but she was only in the bubble once. So I don't know, Red Eyes. Are you thinking that maybe she was already changing?
No, they're saying she went through the force field twice. She went in once going in, and the second
once coming out. Yes. So she actually did go through the bubble once. They've been bringing a lot of facts in this episode.
This is the thing. She's supposed to get her power through cosmic energy. The same. That's why she literally called herself the next Mrs. Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I understand they're saying that the stones have cosmic energy, so maybe that's why Wanda possesses some type of cosmic energy. But I don't really like the fact that if they try to make Monica Miss Marvel off the fact that Wanda gave her the powers to that, you know what I mean? I like the old way.
What old way? That she got it from the blast, yeah.
Yeah, I like it the old way.
But this is kind of a blast if you think about it.
Yeah, I'm just saying, but it's basically saying that. So it's saying that Monica was a mutant, not just somebody that got powers through cosmic energy.
That's what it seems to be. Well, this is what our theory is, that it's going to wake up something. And so if Monica already had that in her, it woke it up. She wasn't a mutant just yet completely, but she had what you did, the Wakanda files, of saying that the reason they were doing those experiments and that Wanda and that Pietro were initially chosen was because they already had something in their DNA that would make it so that their powers could come out. And I'm saying that that's the same thing with Monica, that she has a latent gene, a dormant gene that this wakes up.
I can see that. I can see them going that way. I don't agree with it. I like things to, to go to regular. You had a good way already, but okay. I understand. I'm not saying I don't understand it.
But what do you think that would change in Monica's story, that she gets it this way versus the other?
Maybe her connection to Captain
Marvel. I think they're making that an interpersonal connection more than anything. RJ is saying in the chat, thanks for joining us, RJ. Wolverine and Mystique and Sabretooth and Apocalypse. I think you're naming the older X-Men. The X-Men who also probably wouldn't just come from this, and maybe they'll make it a thing that different X-Men get. Go ahead.
They made Mystique, Magneto, and Xavier around the same age. But Apocalypse, he supposed to be the first mutant ever.
Yeah. RJ is actually bringing some facts from the Marvel, from the comic universe, and the fact that we're getting Inhumans, right? We are getting Inhumans, right? Mm-hmm. And Inhumans would exist first, and what about Namor and X-Men history? Yeah. And that, RJ is also saying the multiverse of madness has to come to place. I agree. And that's why it's like, I'm saying, like, I'm so confused. I'm so torn about this theory, because I really do think that's what they're doing, which is why they're pointing out that Monica's cells are changing, because the one correlation is that she went through this thing. So maybe Wanda changing the world with this thing could bring up people. But then what about everyone else who were mutants before that very moment?
True.
Not meta-humans I know DC kind of uses the term meta-humans more often than not, but because you have Captain Marvel, you have others who got their powers different kind of ways because they were aliens and things like that.
Gamma radiation, the Hulk.
Gamma radiation with the Hulk.
And the Fantastic Four.
So it's like, how do you explain, if you are going to do Xavier in them, how are you going to explain Xavier in them? Because it can't come from Wanda's thing if they have history that dates back years of them dealing with their mutant powers. And I think that's the one thing for me that stands in the way of this theory. Although I do think they are going to use this as a way to wake up people's powers.
Mm-hmm.
So
actually, we've never, I don't know, have they ever taken that book that's out? The book is called The Wakanda Files. Y'all could check it out, look for it or whatever.
Wakanda Files, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if the MCU has adapted any of that into what's going on. But
where did the Wakanda file show up at? Was that in?
It's a book. It's out. I don't know exactly.
So is that canon? Are they saying that's canon?
Yes, it's not an actual comic book. More like I wouldn't say a magna, but it's something like that. So it came out within the last 3 years.
Okay, so I guess it's canon. So I guess that we'd have to play into that, but they need to say it somewhere on screen, because we all don't know the Wakanda Files about this late and stuff. Ra is saying in the chat, I think Monica being unsnapped triggered her powers that drew her into the hex to begin with. Now, that's a theory that maybe that also did something. I mean, what happens when people lose 3 or so years of 5 years of their life, and they come back.
He's always rambunctious. He as a kid. That's why I thought she went head first into the
yeah. But why was she allowed in it? You get what I'm saying, Damon?
Yeah,
like no one, like even Wu, when she came, he was like, well, you don't feel that? It's not inviting.
Yeah, he did, but he never tried to go in there.
But he also felt like there was something wrong. She felt like, it looked like she felt like she was able, like she was drawn into being able to touch it. So
reach out and touch forward.
RJ is saying it would be like Spider-Man and Fantastic Four versus actual mutants like the X-Men and Brotherhood. Yeah, I mean, I think they're going to have to try to figure out these new people they have to bring in, right? Fantastic Four. Red Eyes is pointing out in the chat, and humans already exist. They were introduced on Agents. Yeah, okay, they were. Yeah. But I didn't read them. I'll admit, I didn't read them humans comics.
They was living on the dark side of the moon.
Okay, but are they mutants or are they just like aliens?
That's what I mean by, I thought that Marvel had already tried to explain mutants, because all the Inhumans get their mutant powers from that Terragenesis thing. They're put in some type of chamber. They break these little crystal things, and something happens. It turns into like dust, powder, smoke, or something. And whatever their power is or their mutant ability is, it comes forward. Okay. But it doesn't happen for everybody.
So once again, a dormant gene, and maybe this is what's going to happen on Earth to bring up the rest.
But that's what I mean. Field had already introduced that, because with the chance. I'm trying to. I think it was transgender. Something. It's not coming to me.
Let us know in the chat, y'all, if y'all know the exact title that Damon's thinking about.
Doing Sky's mother, dealing with what's her name, Quake. dealing with mother and stuff. Terragenesis, then the Inhumans. The humans were on Earth. They left and went to the moon, the dark side of the moon. I guess being that they were mutants, they were being bothered on Earth or something, or considered a threat somehow.
Yeah. RJ is telling you, Quake best in humans. I guess Quake. RJ is a fan of Quake. Okay, so we got that, and then we have this thing where basically we have to point out that Hayward has a tracker in Vision. So basically, they put something in Vision or something like that where they were able to track Vision in the thing.
I think what he's made of.
Is what it's made of. You think that's what they're able to track?
Because she said that I think he's made of vibranium or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Vibranium with the uranium.
No, not vibranium. He's not vibranium. He's like a synthohuman.
But he's made out of that whichever hard metal. I know it's two of them. Whichever hard metal that's what
he's made of something that Hayward is able to track inside, because it's not Wanda. At first, I thought they were going to reveal that it was Pietro somehow, and I thought, okay, that's the reveal. Pietro is an undercover agent or something like that. But it seems that it's Vision, and that RJ is saying they were tracking vibranium, so they were able to track him. And so they are seeing where he's at. And this way, like RC was explaining, that now Hayward has a good head count of who's in there and what's happened and stuff like that. So basically, they kind of see and they kind of sense that Vision is heading towards the parameter. Now, what was confusing to me is how Hayward knew that Vision would eventually head towards the parameter. Look, you think it was that email they sent? You think it was Hayward? Because I know people thought Darcy was the one that sent that email in, but maybe it was Hayward that sent the email in to throw, Vision off and wondering what's going on.
That's why I think that they're giving us bits of information, showing us stuff, but working underhand on the side hand over here.
That there's more to the mystery. Yeah,
Hayward never. It was Darcy that said what's going to happen when this guy made out of vibranium finds
out he's being used,
and then he found out.
Yeah. And maybe that's what maybe it was Hayward that sent that initial email that came about like 2 episodes ago. And then we have this thing that Vision is heading towards, the thing, and they are ready for him. Hayward's like, let's go, because they know he's about to head out there. And it was such a sad moment. It got me in my feels because, he was dying, and even Billy senses that they think he's dying. They're going, he's sensing, he's like, they think he's dying. And like Hayward is just standing there, and basically It made me so sad because I love Vision, and he's dying. But even when Darcy's like, "What are you doing? Help him!" And of course they lock her up, and I was like, "Oh, Hayward." But then and even in his last breaths, Vision is saying, "These people need help." He's not saying help like help me. He's like, help, people are in danger. Yeah. Even in his last breath, y'all, they gotta make it so Vision somehow gets to live. I cannot stand it if he has to die again.
I think he does because she brought him back into the field.
Well, she did, but you get what I'm saying? I worry that it's going to be something that only with this filled up is that he gets to live.
I don't think she put them back together. That's why he was breaking apart. And inside that force field, he's together because it's her world.
Okay.
I don't think he's physically reconstructed.
So you think that's what was happening?
It started pulling pieces of him back in. You know?
The pieces that she had were created once he came in. But either way, I'm sad because I want him to be able to function outside of the force field.
I don't know. I don't know why he was able to.
Because in the comics, she's able to bring people back from life to stay alive. Like Wanda is able to bring people back to life, not with a force field, but basically just changing reality. So they kind of are making it so it's the force field in the MCU. And I'm hoping they make it so she can just change people.
This is the thing. He's not human.
But he's parts of human, right? Well, no, not really. But he has mind.
Originally, he was.
He has a soul.
He supposed to have the brain waves of, I believe it was Warlock.
Yeah, of a character, and in the comics, Vision goes through a lot of different iterations. And Vision, and I said it before in another episode, Vision has been broken apart, put together again a number of times, and this is why I'm hoping this is not the end of Vision. Even if this doesn't happen, that he's able to come back.
Wanda aren't always together.
Yeah, and they aren't always together, right? So he doesn't have to just be around because of Wanda necessarily, although I do love their love story. RJ is saying Hayward wants Vision as a weapon after the snap. He is SWORD's future key goal as an asset against threats otherworldly and alien. But this is the thing. Vision actually did say in his will that he didn't want to be used by nobody. So if Hayward's going against his role, he's on the wrong end of that too.
I can see them doing that because if they deem it necessary, come on, if they deem a person being a threat, they're gonna kill them. So if they deem it necessary for them to bring Vision back to be a weapon for them, SWORD, I believe they'd do it.
Yeah. Which will show the corruption of a government agency once again. Red Eyes is saying in the chat, on S.H.I.E.L.D., the Kree aliens did experiments with humans. Mixing Kree blood with human blood created Inhumans. When an Inhuman touches a crystal, it wakes up their Inhuman genes. Okay, so that kind of explains there. Thank you, Red Eyes. Okay, so we got that. Poor Vision. They weren't trying to help him. They probably just wanted his parts again, which is why Hayward was okay with that. But Hayward, they weren't thinking, because it's like, how did you figure that Hayward, like, it's kind of like Hayward, like, how would you figure that Wanda would let you do that again? She literally turned your men against you. He took a real gamble, which is like, you thought this through, but you didn't think it through. You really thought Wanda was going to be okay with you taking Vision out and her not trying to get him again?
Like Monica said, like you can't outgun her.
Right? Monica's like, what are you doing? Do you see what she's done?
She's also the
solution.
The solution, yeah.
Monica was talking true. She was like, she's the problem, but she's also the solution to this. And it hurt me seeing Vision like that. And I just hope there's a happy ending for Vision. And we see, Billy tells his mama, like, something's going on with Dad, and Wanda senses it, and she's like, okay. Pietro says something that really pisses her off.
Yes. Why would
she's like, yeah. It was kind of weird because he's like, it's not like your dead husband can die again. And I was wondering, like, is he in character right now? But because I was like, I don't feel like Quicksilver would say that to her. And so she just basically, she throws him over. She's like, no, like, she's just flippant. She's not loving this Pietro.
I don't think Quicksilver would have said, I died I got shot down in the street like a chump for nothing. I don't think he would have said that. And then showing us why he got shot down in the street, and then for him to say that.
I think the question is also, how was Quicksilver's personality in the X-Men franchise? Because people loved him. So I feel like he was.
A smart aleck, yeah.
He was a smart aleck. So I mean, would it be completely off of to say something like that? If we're going by his characterization in that universe,
but she
to this one,
that one in that universe is a smart aleck because hers ain't a smart aleck.
Yeah,
I don't even know if the brother could talk.
Yeah, he didn't get too much lines in that one for Aaron. Okay, so she basically throws him off, and then she pauses everything and she expands. Like she goes full throttle. She turns the soldiers into clowns, which I loved. I was like full clowns. I think Monica called them clowns earlier too. So she basically turned them into the circus, and I was like, "Yep, that's what's up. That's irony."
Darcy became.
Well, who became? Darcy. No, we didn't see what Darcy became. We'll probably find out what she'll become next. Because Darcy was like, "Oh, fudge," because she's like, "Great." She's like, "You serious? You gonna let me?" And they just basically left Darcy there. That was messed up. So Darcy gets drawn in, and so we'll see what she ends up becoming, because they're actually now they're not in the 50s and stuff anymore. They're actually like in the 90s to 2000s, maybe even present day come, the next episode. So basically Wanda expands and we see Westview, all of Westview now. And it's interesting because the question is, how far is she going to expand? Because Vision gets drawn back in, and it seems like they're trying to out drive it. But the question is, maybe she might have enough power to take over the whole world, because we know in House of M, House of Magneto and stuff, it was the whole world that Wanda changed. And it actually also affected outer space. So Wanda was actually able to change all of reality for everybody on Earth. And in this one, I think I said this, that they only did it for Jersey. It kind of consolidated, but it seems like she may end up going way further, and we won't know until next episode how far she will go. Do you think, Damon, that they're going to make it so she takes over all? Because then that would also bring in there's other superheroes and stuff around, and it's like, what's good? Where are we now? Do you think they're going to go far enough that the other superheroes get involved, or maybe she just stops short of all of New Jersey?
I don't think she's going to take over all of New Jersey. They would not I don't think they have New Jersey as the home of the mutants. But,
they should. New Jersey's great.
But I believe she came out some. She probably took over a little bit of Eastview. Because we know she came all the way on Westview. She came past the line. So, maybe she took over half of Eastview also. But I think it'll stop there, until what's her name come back with her thing to be able to drive in and not get changed, not get affected.
Also, Monica was going to meet somebody. Who do you think that somebody is? A lot of people are speculating that it's somebody from Fantastic Four.
Yeah, Reed Richards.
Yeah, a lot of people think it's Reed Richards. Do you think and in the chat and also in the replay section, let us know, y'all. And also, if you haven't given this video a thumbs up yet, please do so. Give this video a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed yet, you should subscribe, because we love talking and slicing into stories here. But let us know in the chat and also in the replay, who do you think Monica's going to meet? Who do you think she's going to meet, Damon? Do you think it's Reed Richards?
As of now, yeah, I believe it's probably going to be.
Do you think they'd introduce him like that just yet, though? Like on a TV show?
It's possible. Why not? I mean, you could bring him in on the TV show, then head towards the movie thing with it. This would be a good introduction, at least. Who's saying that they can't introduce characters in the TV shows they put out, and then they go on to
That's true.
Have movies or the beat. And
I think that I agree with you. I think that would tie into the idea of the TV shows having just as much weight as the movies, because they should. I think that's what people were worried about, that the TV shows won't have as much weight, but it's very clear that they're going to have a lot of weight.
They're already tied in. Shield was always tied in. Now you got this tied in, just along with the snap and Monica coming back, and so it's already tied in.
Yeah, Red Eyes is saying in the chat, Hayward was watching Vision struggle instead of trying to get answers from him, making me feel he's aware of what's going on. So maybe Hayward is in that. RJ is saying all of this is a precursor to Doctor Strange. Vera is saying she hopes it's Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Ra is saying she doubts that it's Reed. She doesn't think it's going to be Reed. And RJ is saying it was good enough for Wonder Woman. What was good enough for Wonder Woman, RJ? I don't know. Can we talk about DC here? I don't want to compare. I don't want to compare it. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I feel I'm kind of. I don't know. I'm kind of with Raw on this, that I kind of doubt that is real, because I don't know if they'd introduce such a major character like that on the TV. Although, well, you know what? You're right, RJ. I think you're talking about the fact that Wonder Woman came on HBO Max, right? So why not? So maybe they're like, hey, streaming is streaming and everyone's watching it. So why not do it for the TV adaptation? Yeah, I get what you're saying now. Like, if it worked for Wonder Woman to have this big old movie, why couldn't it work for having, Mr. Fantastic or Reed introduced on this TV show?
Yeah. Why not? I mean, it got to be somebody who's I guess what you want to build is something like a space type thing, something where the cosmic rays aren't able to penetrate it or something. So I'm thinking, who would you go to besides we know,
Hulk? He's a scientist.
He's a scientist, but he's a gamma. I understand where you could get that connection, because Fantastic Four got gamma rays and Hulk got gamma rays.
Yeah,
I believe Hulk was doing it from like gamma radiation testing of like bombs, like.
But he's super smart, so he could probably add that.
That's why I said maybe she's going to see Doc Samson. I don't know if anybody knows who Doc Samson is.
Yes, give us some background who Doc Samson is.
And this is a good thing, because they could tie into She-Hulk too through Doc Samson. Doc Samson is the guy.
Oh, yeah, because they are doing She-Hulk.
Yeah, Doc Samson is the guy that's supposed to help the Hulk be able to merge his brain, Bruce Banner's brain,
and the Hulk. But they already did that with Smart Hulk.
He has makes the Smart Hulk. In the comic book, so that's how Doc Samson does that.
But then in the MCU, they made it so that he did it himself.
So okay, they can say that. Maybe he could say he helped.
He helped.
He helped.
Yeah, that would be interesting. I just feel like they're building. I feel like they're building it up enough that it's going to be a bigger reveal, because she keeps saying, she could have said, oh, I'm going to meet so-and-so, but they really are kind of playing up that they don't reveal who it is that she's going to meet up with. So I do think it's going to be someone significant. But we know maybe the crowd would know.
It's some type of engine. He's some type of engineer, some type of scientist. We know that it's on that level.
Yeah. Red Eyes saying, if Darcy's DNA doesn't get rewritten, then we know it's just Monica who changed going into the bubble. I agree, but I think we'll know that maybe it'll play more into our theory that you have to have a certain thing already in you. If the Wakanda files are actually canon of having something in you that then awakens something, we just know that Darcy doesn't have that as well. And yes, Red Eyes, my cat made an appearance, Bev. Made an appearance, y'all. She loves it too. She wants to get her TV show on. Vera is saying, do you think we are going to get a Doctor Strange cameo? Who else could get this under control? That's the question too. Who else? I feel like Wanda can get it under control. I think that may be the thing. I think that's why Monica's saying she's also the solution. I think maybe it's about choosing to get Wanda on their side, and then maybe there's a bigger bad behind it.
Her seeing past her pain and all the misery she's going through, to see that she's being controlled, or should I say someone's leeching off her powers. She finally realizes that then she could take control and bring everything back to how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, Ron saying in chat, we don't know. Go ahead, Damon.
I said we might see Doctor Strange, because really we're supposed to see him if they're
she's going to be in his movie.
Yeah, but we're supposed to have seen him for the birth of the twins, because in the comics, Doctor Strange
helped birth the twins. Yeah,
he helped birth the twins. So it's possible that we didn't see him for that, so we might see him later on.
Yeah,
being that Monica helped birth the twins.
Yes. Ra is saying, we don't know where Hulk is after the events of the snap. We don't even know if Monica knows him. Wasn't Hulk in the final battle?
Yeah.
I mean, we don't know where he went afterwards, but it's assumed that everyone kind of went to go do their own thing.
He was there, though.
Yeah, he was there. So, I mean, Banner could be around.
The first snap, right?
Yeah.
He did the first snap to bring everybody back, and Iron Man did the last one.
Yeah. So there's an option for that. Okay, so we got the expansion, crazy stuff. We don't know how far it's gonna get, but we got to talk about the commercial because I got thoughts about that commercial. Yo Magic Yogurt. Oh my gosh, that commercial was childhood right there of 90s, 2000s.
Yogurt.
No, just the claymation commercial. You know what I mean? Like that whole thing of the shark with the sunglasses, you know, where the TV started to really play towards kids as opposed to the parents and getting an appliance. It was more so to the kids. Get your parents to buy this for you, yo. And it's like yo yogurt with the shark.
It was Yo Magic.
Yo Magic with the shark. And oh my gosh, I was like, this commercial got real dark because the blue boy's hands was shaking so hard and he didn't get to open it because he died. But he also looked like somebody once he became a skeleton. And that, the speculation is that he looked like Red Skull, who was the Soul Stone. And that you know what happened with them and everything like that, and that there may be some connection to the stones again because I got a
take on that commercial. I'll tell you my
okay. Yeah, but there's that question, and I kind of thought this made sense. The idea that he, you know, why go that dark about the kid turning into a skull? Well, what's the thing of the skull? The last thing of the skull, and then, you know, and then the idea of the shark saying, this is what saved me, eating Yo Magic. So the idea of taking someone's magic and stuff is also an option as well. And I think that might be close to and I didn't steal that theory, Damon. I also thought of it too.
You did. That's my theory is it was the commercial. This is what it showed to me. He gives the boy what he wants, which is to eat something because he's hungry.
Yes,
but him trying to obtain that food is so hard that he basically dies trying to do it. So that's me. I thought of it as applying to Wanda as to where whoever behind the scene has her using her magic. He's eating or surviving off her magical energy while she's trying to keep this whole thing of hers together. She's trying to obtain a perfect life for herself by that's the whole reason she's doing this, to live in her perfect fantasy world.
So you think the shark represents someone who is eating Wanda's magic?
Who is feeding off Wanda's magic, or being reborn into this. If it's Mephisto, he's being reborn into this world or whatever by the twins, by her raising the twins up, whatever magic she's doing. I believe he's feeding off that. Mm-hmm. And I believe that's what the commercial symbolized. Mm-hmm. Yo magic. I'm eating yo magic.
Yeah. That sounds plausible. Vera is saying if you don't open your magic, then you will die.
That could be a thing too. I didn't think about saying you got to open it up. You got to use your magic. Mm-hmm. But she's kind of using her magic anyway. But
she is using her magic. I definitely agree with you on the aspect that it is a play on someone eating magic of some sort of thing. I definitely agree with that because yo magic. Mm-hmm. It's just it's kind of on the nose, but it's also kind of like, well, then it kind of questions who's the shark and who's the little boy. You know what I mean? People think this Red Skull has some play in this because of the idea of the skull at the end. That very on the nose as well. So that's one theory. And then, and then Vera is connecting that because she's saying right after the commercials, the twins started showing their powers.
True.
True. Red Eyes is saying, I agree with Damon's point because Wanda says she doesn't know how she's doing it, but then she expands the bubble. So it is a question. My thing is then if we're doing that of a symbolism, then who's the shark? That's the question, y'all. Who is the shark?
Behind the scenes.
The person behind the scenes. You think it's Mephisto?
Yes.
I think it would be very cool if it was Mephisto and if Evan Peters was playing him. Go ahead, Damon.
He's feeding off everyone in the town's misery.
Yeah, I think they're using Wanda to do that. Yeah.
Just because everyone says she doesn't necessarily mean it's Wanda.
You think they might think there's another she?
I mean, what's her name? If she's a witch, she could do witch things too, right?
Agnes?
Yeah.
But Agnes seems to be...
But like we said, she could just be playing along.
Yeah, she could be lying.
The long con, right?
Yeah, the long con. Shamar, who is joining us in the chat, thanks for joining us, Shamar. He's saying, I think it's about Wanda's kids, the commercial. Yeah. RJ is saying...
Right? It's for the children.
For the children, right? Maybe it's all about for the children. Maybe all of this was Mephisto's way to get these twins, and he's appearing or using Pietro, whether he's really Pietro or whether he's using Pietro to get the kids under his wing to be closer to him to then... control them. Yeah. Because he talks about being a father figure, things like that. RJ is saying Nightmare or Mephisto. Wanda is a nexus being. She exists in every universe. Ra is saying someone on Twitter said Pietro is the shark because they said the same thing, like right on kid or something like that. So it had the same kind of.
He got the same lingo.
Mm-hmm. But that's the 90s, 2000s lingo.
I get it. I'm just saying,
Okay. Red Eyes seems to be very taken with the theory that Hayward is in on it. I don't know if Hayward is completely in on it. He seems really against people with superpowers. And I think it maybe goes more to the thing of he wants Vision to use as a weapon, and that's his only thing. Like, she took Vision, that's why we care about this. We want Vision back.
He's going morally overboard. I don't believe he's not really a villain. It just to get to what he want to get to. He's not above doing villainous things.
Yeah,
but I don't think he's a down and out.
No, I don't think it's a downright villain. He's like those people who think they're on a good crusade. The superpower people are the ones harming our Earth. We need a weapon. Yeah. No, I agree with you. That I don't think Hayward is in on the Mephisto stuff. I think if it's Mephisto, I don't think he's really in on the Wanda stuff. I think he's thinking she stole a very important weapon from us. We need to get that weapon back. That's his main concern. I think whoever else, I think there's a lot of people, I think not a lot, I think there's a few people with different agendas. And Wanda, like others are saying, is in the middle of that with her own grief, and there's a use of her powers. So I think that's an aspect of it. I
had wanted to ask you, when they showed the flat, when Pietro had the flashback to them doing the trick-or-treating things. Now the posters that was behind the lady, I was trying to look for them. I couldn't find them.
I didn't see it. I didn't see that.
It was an atomic, like the atomic thing in the air, and the guy holding his hands. I was thinking that could have been the High Evolutionary. I don't know.
High Evolutionary. That's another aspect because in the comics, and I think I talked about this in a few streams ago, y'all. High Evolutionary, because Wanda has so many origins of, like, they've retconned her stuff. So the question really is which way is Marvel going to go with this? Which retcon are they going to pick? Because it seems like it might be hard for them to pick Magneto at this point, because where is he in this? So they might go with the idea of the High Evolutionary, who was the one that was somewhat of the father of Quicksilver and Wanda.
He's the one experimenting.
He was the one the father in the sense of experimenting on Quicksilver and Wanda. So that could also, he was a mad scientist that basically was a human who was mad scientist and created it. So he may also be doing, it may be him, it may be Mephisto.
His real name is Herbert.
His real name is Herbert. It is. So that could be a thing. That could also be a thing. His real name is Herbert. So that could be him leaving a little thing of, so I think there's a chance there could be two people behind it. Not two, but one of the two. It could be High Evolutionary, or it could be Mephisto. I think it would be cooler if it was Mephisto, because they also are dropping a lot of hints, but they also could just be trying to throw us off, y'all. They might have, it might be one or the other, but they're throwing other things to throw us off the scent. So we're having these kind of debates.
I think most people think Mephisto because he's a Doctor Strange villain,
and because of the twins and Doctor Strange.
Because of Doctor Strange. because he could be linked to Spider-Man. It's a lot of all the the movies that they're planning to come up with that has that multiverse thing in it. And also he's not like a demon from Earth hell. He's from another dimension.
Yeah. And he just calls it hell because he feels that's the way humans can relate to him.
Yeah, so he's probably part of that multiverse.
Multiverse, exactly. Which is why I think either he got the real Quicksilver from the other multiverse and drew him in because he couldn't use the other Quicksilver's body because maybe he decomposed or something, so there was nothing to bring in or something.
He can also take any form he wants. That's why I think that's him playing Quicksilver. That's my main reason, is because I know that if he wanted to, he can make himself look. Why he chose that Quicksilver is the question mark.
That's the question mark, and that's why I do think there is a multiverse idea of really using the actual Quicksilver of some nature. Because why not just have Aaron show up? He could totally do that. Why play on this Evan Peters thing?
Unless he actually think of being that we doing the sitcom troupe, let's just have
recast me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like if he really wants to convince Wanda and lull her in, he'd go as the actual face. Rod's asking. Yeah, Ron's asking in the chat, what if Monica's contact was Rodney War Machine? That would also be cool.
Yeah. Possibly.
That would also be very cool. War Machine being from the comics, for those of you who don't know. That would be also very cool. I think wasn't it Shaq that played War Machine?
No, it was Terrence Howard, right?
Terrence Howard. Someone played War Machine. Yes.
She would play him. Then now Don.
Who did Shaq play? Someone played a superhero back then.
Shaq played Shazam.
Okay.
I don't, but not the
Shazam we know.
Not your DC Shazam. Yeah. Right? Shazam is DC.
No. Someone played a. Okay, I'm getting my comics mixed up, but yes. It could be War Machine. It could be Don Cheadle showing up for this. So
it could be Falcon.
It could also be Falcon. Yes, thank you, Ben Grimm. Shaq played Still. Yeah. That's what I meant. I got my comic books mixed up. I was thinking Still.
I forgot. Look, I guess I gave up after Shazam. I stopped watching Shaq movies. So
I was like, no more Shaq movies after Shazam. Yeah, Shaq played Still. Thank you, Ben Grimm. Thank you for joining us in the chat.
Love that name too, Ben Grimm.
Yes. Yeah, and Vera is asking, I still want to know who the guy that Jimmy Woo was looking for. That person, family, and friends did not remember him. Yeah, randomly Jimmy Woo was looking for somebody, and we never got anything of that either. So we don't know. Okay, so there's other aspects of this that we saw. Let's get into a few Easter eggs before we wind it down. Okay, so we saw there was a little thing that people noticed when Evan Peters Quicksilver says kick ass, and that is actually the movie that Evan and Aaron, who played the original Quicksilver, were in the same movie together of Kick Ass. So that was a little throwback. They were both in that movie and they had him say kick ass. So that was
Aaron was the guy the green, he was kick ass?
Yeah, yes.
Oh my God.
So they both played it together, and I think Evan played his best friend or something like that. So there's a whole thing of them being in the same movie. So it's very cute that it's like I'm in another movie or another aspect of property of you. So cover
hit me in my head again. You just told me last week that
Elizabeth Olsen is an Olsen. Yes. Yes, Damon. Yes. Blowing your mind. And then also, I don't know if others noticed that Pietro had a tattoo of M, capital M, lowercase o, capital M, M-O-M. And a lot of people are thinking, there was the idea that it just meant mom. But a lot of other people are saying that it could be multiverse of madness, and other things that play into the Marvel Cinematic Universe and them bringing in multi-universe. So that I don't think that was a coincidence. I think they did that on purpose, just like the House of M line that we got in the first episode. So I definitely
I believe that was the biggest clue. Kudos to you, because I would have never tried to translate that.
right? The House of M, the French thing.
I was like, damn.
Yes. Yeah, so they had that, and then they had MOM. So, I think that definitely plays into this multiverse thing. I mean, there's a few other words that they feel like that could play in to as well of what the MOM represents, but that definitely could play into the idea of multiverse, which is why I'm not discarding the idea that whoever is behind the scenes brought in, or maybe it was Wanda. Maybe she couldn't get a hold of Pietro, the real Pietro of her universe, so she unsubconsciously brought in the other guy.
Well, didn't somebody say maybe she switched him because she didn't want to be remembered, or
But if that's the case, why not change the way Vision looks?
Yeah, I get it. But I was saying that too. I'm just wondering if I remember somebody saying that in one of the episodes, using that as an excuse to maybe why he looked different. Or did I come with that in my head?
No, I think someone did say that. Vera is actually saying that that's just Evan Peters' tattoo. But this is the thing, Vera.
Oh, wow.
They can cover up people's tattoos. They do it all the time, right? So like why
that character though?
Huh?
It looked like it would fit with him.
It would, but why MOM? Why you know what I mean? Why not make it something else? Why something that aligns so well with Marvel? You know what I'm saying? Why leave that? Because they are so quick to do so much detail in this thing. I don't think that this was just a coincidence that, we'll just let that stay. They were like, that probably plays into what this bigger plot line is. I think. I think, there's something to that. Roz actually saying the theater when Wanda, Pietro, and the twins were out trick-or-treating had the Parent Trap, 1998, and the Incredibles, 2003, further confusing the times. That kind of goes with what Michael Damian was saying earlier. He had the very specific thing of thinking it was 1998 to 2002. Yeah. So he kind of had it. Even I was like, that's very specific. But yeah. And Shamara is saying, I agree. I think it was intentional, the tattoo. Because, they can cover people's tattoo. They do it all the time for actors, right? Right. But even though it does kind of go with his characterization, I just felt like it was very interesting. They let it be prominent.
Do you remember how the M was shaped? Was the M shaped? Was the M was it shaped any type of way? You know how the M was shaped?
Yeah,
like the House of M.
I can't remember off the top of my head. I got to get a screenshot from the next episode because we can deal with that. Okay. Did you see any other Easter eggs, Damon, that you could think of? Because I felt like those are the main two I kind of stood out to me, and also with the twins.
It was something in Hayward's files. I had it.
The name Counteract
in the Counteract. What was it?
Cataract.
Yeah, it was Cataract, but it had something under it. What it was? Something defense. Something defense program. Something else with a C.
Yeah. Let us know in the chat because I didn't write that down. I did write Cataract down. I didn't write the thing underneath it.
Program or something.
Yeah, that definitely. And Cataract is actually connected to other things, like in the video game. That's a level for X-Men, for the X-Men video game or something that people are saying online. So yeah, there's just so much. I mean, to me, my lingering questions are. I still think that's some version of Quicksilver. I don't think that's completely the big bad, whoever the big bad is. I think Hayward definitely wants to get Vision as a weapon, but I do still say there is a big bad. I am leaning more and more towards what Damon said, which is that it is Mephisto. I just don't know in what capacity. I just don't think Wanda is the big bad. I think she has to eventually realize maybe she's being used.
And I know.
So what are your thoughts, Damon?
I know in the episodes coming up, I believe we're going to get to see Dottie again. So maybe.
Oh, Dottie, yeah.
So maybe, like I said, just because they're saying you had to stop her, and she, it's different. Only person I actually heard her say Wanda is doing this to us was Agnes.
Yeah. She did say Wanda, which could play into what you're saying, which is this idea of Agnes being part of a long con, doing it, specifically naming Wanda. And it wouldn't be thrown off if Dottie shows back up, although I don't know if she scheduled to show back up on IMDb. But if she did, the actress did play Ayanna Buffy the Vampire Slayer, so she's used to playing a demon. So there's some aspect of that. So she could definitely be a big bad. I think it's just such a great show. And I love the fact that it's weekly, because we really can just, like, you know, the time we take diving into this with all of you here, and those are you who join us in the live and the replay. I mean, there's just so much, and it connects us so much. And I think it's been a while since I've gotten into a comic book show that has really done this kind of peaking of the brain. Without
the superhero villain,
boom,
pow, pow.
Yeah, boom, boom. But really, like, just getting into like the folklore, but into the lore of the comics and the stories and the theories. And there's so much potential there. And so, you know, I didn't ask my main question I always ask sometimes with y'all, which character were you feeling the most? Which character were you not? Because it was a small cast. I feel like I was feeling Pietro because I just loved Evan Peters in this.
Billy.
Yeah, Billy was great. Billy was so. I love the toy. I hope they don't age them up.
He was Malcolm this episode.
He was. I really hope they don't age the twins up. I hope that they're allowed, that they're not going to go back absorbed into Mephisto, and that they get to kind of stay and kind of grow up in the universe and become like the Young Avengers. I think that'd be really cute if they did that. Although they might become teenagers later on, but yeah, I think. You know, we got episode 7 next week, and there's just so much. Once again, y'all, if you haven't given a thumbs up to this video, please do so. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. And check out the other videos. You know, we talk about weekly stuff. We finished The Stand. We got WandaVision, of course. Maybe we might be doing Batwoman or something in the future. Who knows? I know Damon and Michael Damian, who also did a stand with me, may be doing the Falcon
and the Winter. So
Falcon
and I want to soup everybody up.
Yeah, Falcon and Winter Soldier. They'll be starting that in March on their upcoming channel, the Fried Disciples, that they're doing. For those of you who partake in those activities of that. And so, check out the other stuff that we have. And just, you know, let us know in the comment section your theories, y'all, because I think the sky's the limit with this one, or the dimension is the limit, because I honestly, I have my theories, but I think either way they go, I'd be impressed, because there's just so much to do with this.
I'm loving this series.
Yeah.
Like I said, usually I go for things with a lot of action in it.
Yeah, but this one, they just are really doing such great storytelling. And we do love the slice in the storytelling on this channel, y'all. Yeah.
And they know how to get the best out of their actors.
Yes, it's not wasting actors. I think Damon's throwing some shade to The Stand. Stephen King's The Stand. Once, for those who know this channel, know that we were following that. But yeah, y'all, thanks so much for joining us for this one. We'll be back with you next week, God willing, of course. And stay safe out there. If you do Valentine's Day weekend, live it up, even if it's solo, or, you know, spread the love in all the ways that you can. And thanks so much, y'all, for joining us. And like I said, put your theories and stuff in the comment section. And then I want to go through some of y'all theories in the next episode. I'll pick out some of the ones that sound really cool and plausible, and we'll go through it. So do the comment section for me and let me know.
And if anyone could look at when Pedro goes through his first flashback, the picture is 2 posters that's on the wall
behind the woman giving the candy.
The old lady that's giving out the fish.
Yeah, let us know in the chat and also in the replay, y'all. Help us out, y'all, because y'all are part of this with us. We couldn't do it without you here. You make it so enjoyable. Once again, y'all, stay creepy. Let's get creepy together and keep slicing in the storytelling out there. Till next time.